Buck Sexton.
Thank you all so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. You might have heard it's my first ever time in Wisconsin. So you all are setting the bar very, very high, I have to say. It's not usual that I get to show up somewhere for the first time and over 1,000 fantastic patriots all gathered together in one place. So I want to start by telling you a brief story, if I could, that I think really captures this political moment. So I was in an Uber on the way out to the airport, New York City. Got to have your mask on, of course, because stupid Uber requires that, even though, as we know, masks don't actually work the way they've said they do. But anyway, so this driver, he looks at me for a second in the rear view. In this odd way, he's kind of staring at me. And at first I think, oh, my mask is dipping below my nose or something like that. No, mask is on. Dr. Fauci himself, the little tyrant Smurf, he would approve. So the driver looks back at me, and I think to myself, all right, I think I know what this is. Look, it doesn't happen that often, but it's always really nice when it does. Honestly, I really appreciate it. I appreciate getting recognized, especially in New York City. And since I moved into the 12 to 3 slot, I like to joke around that no one can fill Rush's shoes, which is obviously true. So Clay's in one shoe and I'm in the other. But I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, this is kind of cool, right? So this guy maybe knows my work, appreciates me. He looks up at me and he goes, "Are you the man from the Fox News?" He's got kind of a Slavic accent. I say, well, sir, as a matter of fact, I'm really more of a radio guy, but yeah, I do a lot of Fox News. He goes, "Very good. I like you on the Fox News. You are strong against Democrats. Very bad Democrats. Always more taxes, more taxes. I am a legal immigrant to this country. I work hard for my money." And I said, yeah, look, we both know you can't trust those commies, right? He goes, yes. So we chat a little bit more on the state of America. It was time for me to get out here, right? Had to get on the plane, had to come see all you folks. So I appreciated my short, pleasant exchange with this guy. It was a nice reminder that even in New York City, there are fellow conservatives out there, and some of them really support what I do. Turns out I'm not alone, right? Put a little extra pep in my step. "It was good to meet you," I said to the driver. Same with you," he replies. And as I'm going, to get my bags going, he goes, "You are the best on Fox News." And I said, right as I step out, I said, "Oh, that's really great. Thank you so much." And he goes, "Today is a great day. Tonight I go home and tell my wife I finally meet Tucker Carlson." So I said to the guy, "Sergey, my man, you come by my Fox News studio anytime you want. I'll give you a tour. We will have a great time." He's like, "Yes." So anyway, I'm glad we established that. Doesn't really tell us much, but I figured it tells us something. Now let's get down to the country, shall we? Let's get down to it. I mean, I do a 3-hour radio show every day. I figure I got at least 2 hours here before they're gonna get the hook. I'm kidding, I will absolutely not do that. I'll watch my time closely. Let's talk about the country. How's America doing right now? Let me put it this way. We've had an awful year, but we've had a pretty good week. So let's just talk about the year for a moment, okay? Let's talk about the macro, and then we'll look at the week, and then we'll look at what we face and how we win. I'm gonna try to cover that all. We're gonna fix America here in about 30 minutes or less. So here's the situation. A lot has gone wrong. Joe Biden is an unfunny joke foisted upon the American people in the throes of pandemic panic, as we know, hiding in the basement. They changed the rules and cheated. They did everything they could and barely dragged old man Biden out of the basement long enough to take him across the finish line. What's gone wrong since the 2020 election? I mean, pretty much everything. Everything that we all knew would. Weak economic recovery, rising inflation, millions of unfilled jobs, gas prices surging, supply lines failing, empty shelves, Afghanistan withdrawal debacle, the most lawless and wide open southern border in the post-World War II era. Almost 30 trillion of the national debt, trillions more to be added soon if crazy Nancy gets her way. Plus mask and vaccine mandates. The federal government still makes us mask up on planes. I had someone, this is actually completely true, I had somebody in the airport on the way here in New York, don't worry, not Wisconsin, make me take off my mask and put on another one because she said mine looked a little thin. I said, are you an epidemiologist? I think you're like checking the baggage. What is going on? I don't understand, but that's what I was told. So there are people who will not speak out. The science is not leading. You have more COVID deaths under Joe Biden than you did under Donald Trump. How many of you even know that fact? And this, of course, despite the latter inheriting a vaccine program because of Operation Warp Speed. So look, I could go on and on. I don't want to do that, right? We're going to focus on how we win and where we're going. But we do have to understand that it's been an awful year. No question. Now let's talk about having a pretty darn good week. All right, that's where we are. A week that actually could be the turning point. Let's focus on that for a minute. Let's start with the very positive Glenn Youngkin victory over Terry McAuliffe. Slimy Terry, as I call him. So it's a really big deal in the state of Virginia, but as you know, I'm here with you, and I talk to people in all 50 states on the radio all day for 3 hours with my buddy Clay Travis, and we talk to people all across the country, and what we keep saying is Virginia is the starting point. It's the template. It's a rallying cry. We have seen, I believe, the first major victory of what we can call the Conservative CounterRevolution. It all got started with parents. A rebellion of moms and dads, just everyday folks who were a little more engaged in education issues because of the pandemic. For the first time in history, millions of households had both parents staying at home as a result of pandemic restrictions shutting down workplaces. And then with online learning and Zoom classes, those same parents were exposed to the curricula of their kids in real time. Their children didn't have to tell them about the bizarre left-wing nonsense that was being foisted on them. The parents could see and hear themselves. This is true in cities and counties all across the country. And parents were outraged, right? Critical race theory, which I know is going to be talked about more. My friend Vivek Ramaswamy is going to dive deep into some of this with you in a bit. Is a toxic ideology rooted in racial guilt and victimology, and this is being forced on children. In Virginia, Loudoun County specifically got a lot of attention months ago, earlier this year, and it sparked a revolt of concerned parents. The mom brigades, as we like to call them, showing up and asking questions of leftist bureaucrats about why young children, 8, 9, 10 years old, are being told they must confront their white privilege. The Democrat power apparatus, of which the public school system, and I know you know this in the state of Wisconsin, is unfortunately the thuggish core because of the teachers' unions. They reacted in predictably aggressive fashion. Sit down and shut up, parents. That's what they more or less said. We are the experts. We know what's best for your kids. It was heavy-handed. It was haughty. And as we saw on Tuesday, it was also stupid. Stupid. And totalitarian, kind of like that evil Smurf Fauci. They don't want to answer any questions, right? So it turns out a lot of Virginia parents didn't particularly like being talked down to by bureaucrats, or for that matter, by Glenn Youngkin's opponent, Terry McAuliffe, who is an oily creature of the DNC machine, who pulled out every cheap trick he could to steal that victory at the last minute. Fortunately, it wasn't enough. There were even some Democrats, you might have seen this, Democrats posing absurdly as tiki torch white nationalists at the Youngkin rally last week, in an obvious smear. I mean, one of the so-called Youngkin-supporting white nationalists was a black guy. So the media did figure out that this was a false flag, but they tried it. They tried it. They went with it. Anything to smear, anything to attack. Here's the truth. In Virginia, it came down to education, schools, and parents. Of course, critical race theory, among other issues. McAuliffe's instincts were wrong on all of this. He made massive blunders. He decided to mock moms and dads who didn't want their children to be taught critical race theory. He actually said during a debate with Youngkin that parents shouldn't get to tell schools what they teach their kids. What's the point of the school board meeting? And also, who do the kids really belong to? I want you to hold on to that question. You know the answer to that. Do you think the Democrats, the collectivists, the left, do they have the same answer in mind that you do? I wouldn't be so sure. So this education, schools, this was the issue, the opening for Youngkin, and to his immense credit, he took it. Parents in Virginia, just like those around the country, conservatives, yes, but also a lot of independents and swing voters had just had enough of the craziness in their school districts. Turns out parents don't like their kids being indoctrinated with this leftist CRT garbage. And they also hate being lied to about what's going on. They really hate being called white supremacists or domestic terrorists when they become angry about being lied to about what's really going on. And they showed up at school meetings and they expressed that displeasure. The parents' counter-revolution against this CRT, the mom rebellion of 2021, was central to what happened in Virginia. This has been a frontline battleground for parents pushing back across for months now, and I'm hoping this will spread across the country. It just cost Democrats control of a state that Joe Biden won by 10 points a year ago, not even 2 years ago. Right? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It was quite a showing there. So excited. I think Glenn Youngkin's got a very bright future. I think the new lieutenant governor, new attorney general of the state of Virginia have a very bright future. Winsome Sears she's gonna be a superstar. She's gonna be a superstar. We all know it. So I know we're here in Wisconsin. Virginia is kind of far away, but we have a template, as I said, about how to fight back and win. We have an opportunity here to build a movement from the grassroots, from you, from community, from people you know who share your values. They know that when they show up and speak up, it can have effects that go far beyond the classroom. With enough momentum, their voices can be heard all the way up at state government, all the way across the country, at the federal level too, can become a national news story. That is what we saw on Tuesday. The model worked. And I'm here to tell you, if we do this right, this is just the beginning. If we seize this moment, Virginia could be the first major political victory of a Tea Party-like movement. And it's parents fighting the counter-revolution against CRT that terrifies Democrats so much because it goes after their stranglehold on education. If you want to beat libs, go after what matters to them most. Ideological brainwashing of America's youth is one of their favorite things. Take it from them. Do not allow this. Stand up for your kids. Stand up for patriots. Stand up for sanity. It's crazy what's going on. The Democrat Party and its socialists, I mean, I call them commies a lot on radio, and I do not apologize for that. They live in a fantasy land. I mean, you know this too. Don't expect them to get reasonable. Don't expect them to find Jesus, so to speak, all of a sudden. They're going to keep saying all kinds of crazy stuff. You know, men can get pregnant, and the science says you should wear 2 masks. No, maybe it's 3 masks. Whatever happened to 2 masks, by the way? Remember when that was what you needed to do to take it seriously? Oh, I guess not. Now no one takes it seriously suddenly. It's all completely insane. My favorite is when they make you put the mask on. This happened to me in Las Vegas recently. I'm in an outdoor restaurant. No one has a mask on because it's outdoors. I go up to the hostess stand. Everything is outdoors. Put on your mask, sir. For the 3-second interaction with the hostess, that's the rule. Okay, this is the mentality we're dealing with, so understand that. So, yes, this week we had something great happen, and we can all see the Democrats are in for a midterm annihilation if this continues. Annihilation. That's the good news. I said we're going to have a little bit of both here, right? The bad news is that freedom is under greater assault now than at any time in my lifetime, and I mean that. It's not rhetorical. It's not just to get people engaged. You know it. You know this is true. They're trying to make 5-year-olds in San Francisco show their vax papers. I'm not exaggerating. That's the new rule. You want to go to McDonald's with your 5-year-old? Show me your paper. What does your 4-year-old do? Carry the birth certificate? Excuse me, sir. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is what they're doing to people. So there are two areas. I mean, until this week, we have been losing ground, and Joe Biden is still president. We have to look at this reality. Democrats still have a slim majority in the House, a de facto majority in the Senate. But more troubling, because they can't, this is the gang that can't shoot straight with Pelosi and Schumer. They have mobilized the federal bureaucracy in the era of COVID as an authoritarian army paid for with your tax dollars to destroy your freedom. They have iron grips over academia, entertainment, increasingly corporate America too, something else we'll talk about. And there are two primary areas of this assault against freedom I want to talk about a little bit, and then we'll go right to how we try to win. Two areas. This is where we have to look at the situation right now, the plague of wokeness. Now, some of you might be asking, what is wokeness? Relatively new term. I'll be brief on this, and I know my friend Vivek will get into it in some detail in a moment. There's not really a universal definition, generally speaking, but to be woke is to be brainwashed in the leftist orthodoxy of the moment. It is a political philosophy characterized by an obsession with perceived inequalities in a society, particularly racial ones. There are no half measures allowed in wokeness. One must be a zealot to be sufficiently woke. Even the most woke can be fed to the mob at a moment's notice for running afoul of rules that change every day, This is the reality that they face. The woke live their lives as part of the mob, but at the whim of the mob at the same time. They feed off of it while knowing they can also be fed to it. And that creates constant anxiety and a lack of clear thinking. One thing that remains true, though, is to be woke, you have to believe things that you know to be untrue. You must mouth the preferred slogans like a brainless marionette. The more obtuse, the more absurd the slogan or affirmation, the better. There are 37 genders. Defunding police isn't crazy. Math is racist. Men can get their periods. AOC has a 3-digit IQ. I mean, these are all things. These are obvious lies. Obvious lies. We all know it. But the more obviously false, the more wokeness points given. Of course, the left would say to be woke is to see America as it is and the systems of white supremacy and all this other stuff. Look, this is the truth. Wokeness is just the weaponization of political correctness. You've seen it your whole lives, but now with social media, with the control the left has of institutions, it's just more vicious because they're more powerful, because they've become ascendant, because they've hijacked, or I should just say, calmly walked into the cockpit of the Democrat Party. That's what they're doing. This is what's happening. So we are in a time of extreme wokeness, a time of madness. Let's do some quick examples. Sorry about my voice, a little raspy after so many hours of radio. If you're a white chef who makes burritos in Portland, Oregon, you may end up getting death threats and have to shut down your business because of cultural appropriation. Just ask Kook's Burritos in Portland. Actually, wait, you can't because it's shut down because he wasn't allowed. The white chef, who is a highly acclaimed place. People in Portland love that. Of course, Portland's lost its mind. But they decided a white guy is not allowed to make burritos. Cultural appropriation. This is happening in America today. Yes, the woke left believes that a system of white supremacy in America includes white chefs who make pad thai or bibimbap or curry or whatever, any ethnic food. It's only supposed to be made by a chef who is a person of color. That's the only thing that is allowed, you see. Oh, you think this is just happening in the crazy places, right? Some of you might know better. Some of you have probably seen some of the stuff that happens right around here. Mama, it's my first time in Wisconsin, but what was it, in 2019? Kickapoo Coffee, I believe. Some of you might know about this. Coffee company here. They changed their names. This is a Wisconsin-based company. Changed their name. They thought they named it for a river, but the river was named for a Native American tribe, so guess what? Had to change the name of their coffee company. They weren't mocking anyone. They were, oh, it's appropriation. Totally insane. Just a few weeks ago, moccasin maker next door in Minnesota. I don't know how bad you're going to feel for Minnesota. I feel like there's probably some, I've heard some stories, you know, not as much as with the Michigan thing, but Minnesota, you guys all have your stuff. But there's a moccasin maker there named Minnetonka. And they apologize specifically because their CEO is not a Native American. I mean, they're making moccasins, but the CEO has to, well, this is the new world that we live in, but we don't have to. We have to stand against this madness. And Virginia showed us that CRT in schools is training children in a divisive doctrine, and that there's victimology and all this thinking that's going on, but it doesn't have to be that way. Wokeness is meant to shut you down and shut you up. I say, we say no. Now, and I said there were two threats to freedom. I'll deal with the second one quickly here, and then we'll talk about how we win. Faucism. I don't know if you're going to find anybody who detests that evil little Smurf more than me. I really, and I've been very early on in this process. I don't know him. It's not personal. I just think he's done more to ruin the country during the pandemic than any other solitary human being. I think he's a tool of the left. I think he's wildly dishonest. I think that you've been on the treadmill probably somewhere in this country choking on your own spit because Fauci says it'll make you safer. No, it won't. It will not. It's a lie. It's not true. It's not science. It's insanity. So, Fauciism. This is a time when I think everybody realized just how far the ideology of that evil lab coat tyrant really goes. And I mean this week, folks. I'm not talking about the grand scope of things. The Biden administration has put out this OSHA rule, almost 500 pages. Think about that for a second. How many people are even going to read this? Goes into effect January 4th. Companies with over 100 employees are going to make every man, woman who works for them get the shot or weekly testing or be faced with ruinous tens of thousands of dollars of fines, shut down your business, destroy your business. They say this is about science, but okay, what about natural immunity? Better than the shot, which multiple studies with control groups have shown. Nothing. Won't talk about it. Suddenly, natural immunity does not exist. They say this is because we're in an emergency, but now COVID is endemic. It has animal reservoirs, rapid mutations. It's never going away entirely, any more than the cold or the flu. Plus, vaccines don't last very long. What, maybe 6 months? Then you need your booster, right? So we're supposed to line up for the booster shots, which I'm telling you they're going to make mandatory in blue states if we have a winter surge. We're not allowed to ask the obvious question. If the shots work so well, why do we need boosters? If this is a true vaccine, why does everyone around me have to get it too? COVID zero is impossible, so that can't be the goal. So what are we really trying to accomplish? Well, Fauci doesn't want to answer those questions. The media is in his pocket. And the smarmy Smurf knows that he won't be held to account. So those are all questions we have to ask. We cannot allow the status quo to go unchallenged because Fauci's preparing to step into the role. It's not just him, it's the CDC, it's the Democrats, it's all of it. That's what Fauciism is. It's the inability to question things. It's the inability to have a real discussion about what really matters to you and to be able to defend your freedom. Fauci's going to be the forever COVID czar if we let him. Every flu season, he'll appear with the latest booster mandates for you. They're going to make mandates for kids. They're going to use the Department of Education to try to force it even into states like this one. You watch, they're going to do it. Fauci is the normalization of medical tyranny, and to hand even more power to the Democrats would be utter madness. We have to say no. They're in an unholy alliance with the worst doctor in America. It is time to fire Fauci. Please, God. Are we going to get a lock him up chant going? No, just kidding. We might have to do a Let's Go Brandon chant at the end of this. I don't know if we're going to have time. It'd be good for the social media. By the way, the Buck Sexton podcast every morning, subscribe to it. It's before the big radio show. All of you, please subscribe to it. 30 minutes, I run through it all. It's like Buck right after his coffee. You'll love it. So some of you might have to be like, I'm listening to this twice, but I go pretty fast. Now what do we do about all this, right? We've been talking about, as I said, the twin pillars of anti-freedom we're dealing with right now. Wokeness and faucism. Those are the two forces that have come together. Of course, Biden is the implementation, or the people around Biden are the implementation arm of this, you know. He's just sort of being pushed and wheeled around, and everyone's hoping they don't have to bring him a blanket for his knees and applesauce at any moment. I mean, it's really not a good look for this commander-in-chief to be in the role he's in. But I said I would tell you about what we're going to do, and that's how I want to spend the last few moments we have together. So that sounded kind of ominous, but before I have to pass it on to my colleagues and friends here. What do we do about all this? This is where we talk about counter-revolution, folks. This is where we talk about the mom rebellion, the dad revolution, the enough is enough from folks like you. That is what happened. I was a huge Donald Trump supporter. I still am. He's done great things for the country. This election in Virginia, no, but hold on. This election in Virginia was won because of people like you. It was not reliant on the genius of any one political actor. It was not reliant on even Glenn Youngkin did a very competent, good job. It was the mobilization of the conservative grassroots that gave us this win in Virginia that is really stopping the bleeding of our freedom in a sense. Now we realize, okay, it's possible to turn this around. So what do we do? All right, first step, refuse to go along in ways large and small. Some of you will be familiar with the Gulag Archipelago, Solzhenitsyn. Let the lie come into this world, he wrote. Let it even triumph, but not through me. Do what you can to reject, shout down, defeat, push back on lies in your day-to-day life in every way you can, because the Democrats are a party of lies. Do what you can in ways large and small. The good news is the left has pushed us so hard, so fast, there actually is a backlash underway. Look at this room. We have over 1,000 people in this tent outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You are not alone. You are not alone. There are many people just like you, many, many people who feel like their country is slipping through their fingers, and they are with you, but they have to know you're there. They're with you, but they have to know that you're willing to say no to the lies. We need what the Soviets would have called, they would have said it in a bad way, counter-revolution. That's what we want, a counter-revolution against wokeness, against leftness, and insanity. Look, the GOP is sometimes a little weak on the culture war issue. Instead of standing athwart history yelling stop, they just yell, whoa, whoa, a little slower. Not good enough. Mount up, shields up, helmets on for the culture wars. That's what Virginia showed you. You are all capable, all of you are capable of your own acts of daily rebellion against this apparatus of control and constitutional violation and lies and socialism. You're all capable of it in your own lives in ways large and small. Some days you'll be in the fight, other days you won't. But when it's there, take that opportunity. Do not withdraw from the fights you can win, but don't get into fights you can't either. Be wise about it. Be smart about it. Don't let them take cheap shots without response. Don't allow someone to change your language. If someone corrects you when you say something you know to be true, or you recognize no sane person would think it's over the line, stand your ground. Say no. Live not by lies. Never, ever, ever. And then a fun one. That's why we started out the way we did, right? Laughter. Mark Twain once wrote, "Against the assault of laughter, nothing can stand." I know this may sound a little trite, but you have to laugh and make fun of and mock the craziness of these people too. Don't let them take that from you. They are the ones that are doing unprecedented, absurd things. They're the ones that no longer believe facts, logic, and reason. Make fun of them and enjoy it because they deserve it, all right? They're double masking outside. You know, your uncle, and I don't mean, you know, we never punch down. We're not mean to people, but when it comes to somebody who's cycling out on one of your beautiful trails here, or probably like snowshoeing, but whatever, doing one of those things they do here, you know, and they're wearing 2 masks, be like, hey, buddy, I think it's okay. I don't think you're gonna catch COVID from the wolves. Like, calm down. Make fun of them. It is good for you. It is good for them, no matter how much they hate it. Do not let them take satire from you. Make the joke you want to make, even if some might take offense, because they'll take offense to everything. You're not a bad person. You got a good sense of humor. Let it rip sometimes. Don't allow them to force you into preventative self-censorship. All right? So humor is a great way also to unify all of us. It's a proper weapon when used against the powerful and the corrupt, and that is what we must do. These commies, these radical woke lunatics who run the Democrat Party and have used Fauciism to try to club us all into submission, they want to destroy your country as you know it. Say no. Show resolve. Stand up and fight, all of you. You want to win this fight? It's actually pretty simple. Defend the truth, support what is good, fight what is bad, mock them constantly, love your country and your family and your God. We fight for this nation, win or lose, because it is worth fighting for. America, while we can keep it, it is righteous to fight for it as it is. So I want to say thank you again for all of your time, for bringing me here. An incredible welcome to the state to have so many great patriots all gathered together in one place. We all have our orders now. Those of you who've listened to my show for years know where I'm going. We all have our orders. We go off to this battle for the country as happy warriors, shoulder to shoulder, shields high.
Thank you.